welcome to Mike the Baptist. I'm Mike. Good to meet you.
I'm a Baptist.
And I'm a Baptist. Well, it's a long story, but yes, I am. Welcome to Neil Andrews, across the table from me.
Hey, good morning.
Good to see you.
Well,
good to see you bright and early on a morning. Of course, we do this live Saturday mornings at 12:01. That does not explain why you can watch it on YouTube at 6 o'clock on Fridays, but you do that math and figure it out.
It's technology.
It is. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Michael Koontz is also across the table.
Hello, Jackson.
Y'all are on the safe side of the table, which we were talking about earlier.
Well, we hope we are.
You'll know why later. Good to see you back.
Thank you.
HD Jones, my mother from another brother.
We're over here in the highway to the danger zone.
We are. That's right. We are. What does it you say, Koontz?
I went to the danger zone.
I went to the danger zone.
Oh,
anyway,
that's right.
So anyway, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you. I don't know if we have any great big news from the last time we saw you. However, I guess the main news is we appear to have the video repaired.
That's not the big news, but good job.
It's not the big news, but we'll use that for now. But anyway, I think
the big news we have a product to review today.
We do have food.
I'm pretty excited. That's the only reason I came.
Well, it is exciting because early on in this program, we tried to get people to bring us food to review. It was a cheap, kind of dishonest ploy to get free food. But I guess God chastised us for that, and so we dropped it, and now food is showing up.
Yep.
That's how it works, isn't it? So HC brought in a pecan or pecan, depending on where you're from, pie. Or did you bring that, Neil? Somebody brought it.
I brought it.
You brought it.
I carried it in for him.
HD carried it.
We just made him look good.
Either way, at the end of the program, we are going to review that. And who made it? Can we say their name, or do we just need to leave that?
Well, she didn't know that it's here, but we could certainly.
Miss Margie. How about a friend of ours, Miss Margie?
Yes, Miss Margie. I didn't know that she was not aware it was here. This is even more fun now.
We'll see if she watches the episode.
Yeah. But we're not going to get permission. She's just going to have to deal with it. So we're going to review it and tell you what we think of it.
And her husband, Tom Bodef.
Yes, and we're going to be honest. But anyway, that's coming up later. Send us some email, as always, comments at MikeTheBaptist.com. We just found out that somebody we don't know stumbled upon us on YouTube, watched the video that had the bad video last week. They sent me 2 messages, actually. The first one said, I don't know if you're aware, but your video is freezing up towards the end. Just thought you'd like to know. I thought, well, that was nice. But then they followed up with a very nice comment about just stumbling upon it, and they watched it, and they liked it. And they thought, I think they were bragging on the preachers about giving some insight, and I think their comment was something to the effect of they didn't have a father growing up, so it was nice to hear a bunch of men talking about this stuff. I'm not emotional. I almost choked up. Anyway, thank you guys for doing the nonsense here, because I know one person out there somewhere stumbled upon it, and
that's
keep
what we're
doing
here
that.
for, to help people to stumble.
To cause people to stumble. That's why we're here, and we're doing an excellent job. But anyway, send us an email, give us a comment, buy a coffee mug or a T-shirt. It'll help me pay the light bills and make this seem like work, which I was just told a minute ago, this is work. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. www.MikeTheBaptist.com. And you can also, from that website, you can find links to all of these previous shows and podcasts, and so there's stuff on there. I'm learning more about content. So anyway, I think that's content, and it's on there. I like to have a front porch visit on this, and originally, a long time ago, I think a few people complained about the length of the program, and I thought about getting rid of the front porch visit, but no, I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because I like to visit. People don't visit anymore. They don't. They build front porches on houses nowadays, and they're about 2 feet wide, and you can't cross each other on most porches, so people don't visit because it's uncomfortable. The front porch here at Mike the Baptist is 50 feet deep.
Oh, it's deep, okay.
It's deep. We get a lot of people on it. But today on the front porch, before we dive into deep...
we did not get rid of the front porch, which I'm good with that, but we did get rid of those listeners that didn't like the front porch.
We probably did run off a few of the 1.5ers. But they hear about it. People talk, so they do hear about it. Yeah. And that's funny because they'll come to you and say something that you said in it, but if you talk to them very long, you bust them real quick and realize they didn't watch all that. Right. But that's okay. To each his own. Today on the front porch, we're going to talk about your preference. Oceans or mountains? This was suggested by Neil. So Neil brought us some intellectual ideas as opposed to the ones we normally come up with on our own. And it would be interesting to talk about that because I guess people have their favorite kind of places they like to go, or, when you're sitting around in your imagination, you're dreaming about where you are or where you want to be. And anyway, a lot of us have two of those kind of things. We can, we enjoy all of it. And I guess all of us do. Okay, I'm rambling, so we're going to move into letting you guys talk. And you talk about whatever you want to. Oceans or mountains. HD, what's on your mind?
That's a hard one because I like both, and there are times when we make a plan to go to the ocean because it tends to be a little more of a relaxing time, just kind of chillaxing on the beach. But if I had to pick, I'd probably say mountains because I like to hike and go check out a waterfall and be surrounded by nature. I don't know. I just the coolness in the breeze. Something about walking a little dirt path and hopefully not seeing a snake. That's what always does worry me about going to the mountains. So
it just occurred to me that oceans are nature too. I hadn't thought about that before.
Well, yeah, they kind of are, aren't they?
I was just wanting to mention
there's snakes there as well in the ocean.
Jaws.
Jaws,
Yeah.
Where do you go when you go to the ocean? You go to the Florida Ocean?
Typically, we go to Hilton Head over at South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole different vibe over there.
Yeah, it's a different
We're
world.
going there in a few weeks.
But they did just pull up a 10-foot great white shark on Myrtle Beach.
Well, I think more and more people have been eaten by them out there in recent years.
That's a good way to go, isn't it?
If you're going to go, might as well.
It's a story right there. Boy from Arkansas gets eaten by...
Yes, or Greenbrier, which is almost the same thing.
Almost the same thing.
So you kind of either ones.
Yeah, I like both.
But you lean toward the mountains.
I tend to do that.
You think that's because you were raised in some hills, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. Just the smell, the look, the feel of it, the challenge, and just kind of the adventure of it too, The beach is kind of it's like once you're there. You don't have to do a whole lot.
Right.
But when I go to the mountains, it seems like I explore a little more.
Where did your family go most often?
Probably Gatlinburg.
To the mountains.
Yeah, and then we go to the beach with my grandparents, which I think we've discussed.
I think we did talk about some of those one time. Which is why I ask you again about your family, because every time I bring up your family, we get some sort of story out of it.
Yeah, I'll restrain today.
You don't have an interesting hiking story?
I do. Susan and I like to do a lot of hiking. Went out to Lake Tahoe a couple of years ago, and we decided we were going to hike up to Bear Lake. You had to park, and we get out, and my wife is not a naturalist. She's got to have her earrings on, her necklace, and she's probably going to be dressed a little bit nicer than most people on the trail.
Right.
We hop out of the car. I think I did have a backpack on. She had her purse on.
You always need that when you're hiking.
In case your lips get dry, something like that. So we get about 10 steps onto the trail, and this older lady comes, and she's got both poles and a big, one of those camelback things where she's sucking water down, and she's rough looking, She just stops. She goes, "Are y'all thinking about going up this trail?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." She looks at Susan, kind of looks her up and down. She goes, "You'll never make it." But we did. So yes. Bazinga,
personal,
right?
Okay, well, that wasn't quite as redneck as I was expecting.
I'm sorry.
Maybe you didn't tell us all the details.
Next time.
I'll try better. I promise.
Koontz.
Yes, sir.
Oceans or mountains?
Can't we have both? I mean, can't we go down to like the Caribbean?
You absolutely can, because I'm going to support you at the end of this. So, yeah.
Yeah. But I go through phases. Most of my life, it's been wanting to go to the mountains because that's just where we always went, love them and stuff like that. But right now, I'm thinking I really look forward to the ocean and not the beach, because out on the ocean, your phones don't work. Everything's just peaceful out there. You're just looking out across all this water.
And you can hear it.
Beautiful blue water.
To cruise.
Yes, I can't wait.
He's not wanting to go to the ocean.
I'm going to the ocean.
To the beach. He didn't want to go to the beach. He wants to get on a cruise ship
That's
and eat.
exactly
and sleep.
Oh, yes. Does that qualify as being at the ocean?
I guess it does.
You're on the ocean. You can't get any more ocean than being on a cruise ship.
I guess that's a pretty good point, actually.
Thank you.
You're there. So what's your answer? Is it ocean? Because you started out,
yes,
you
ocean.
started out liking the mountains, but then
Right now, it's ocean.
okay,
Yep.
all right. You know, I will say, just the sound of the ocean is pretty relaxing.
Well, it's tempting because you want to open up your cabin door, that goes out into your little balcony and sleep with that open.
No, I don't know because I've never been on one of those.
Well, okay, well, you need to do that sometime because it is so soothing that you
Right.
kind of get in trouble for doing that. So,
So have you been on a cruise ship before?
yeah, several times.
Like where did you go?
We've done the Bahamas one time, but usually we're doing the Western or the Eastern Caribbean. So I prefer the Eastern Caribbean. You're out there on the islands because Western Caribbean, you're usually in Jamaica and Mexico, which
Right.
I don't really care for.
Right.
So
This is a lot of detail. I mean, I was expecting a little story, but that's a lot of details. I mean, using big words like Caribbean and stuff.
yeah, pretty proud of myself.
Is it Caribbean?
Is that near the
The
Caribbean?
Caribbean.
Yeah.
And is it
I think
Waikiki or
Caribbean is what we
K?
say around here, isn't
Is it
it?
Waikiki or K?
Caribbean.
sorry,
Okay,
what?
so your H leans towards mountains, but you like them both.
Yep, I do.
Koontz is leaning toward ocean, but you like them both.
Yep.
But at this phase in your life, you're saying
At this phase, I want the ocean.
the ocean.
That's right.
Gotcha. I can see that.
Yeah.
Neil?
Yeah, both. I
Yep.
can't say either. There have been so many places I've been that I just love. Gosh, the Mediterranean.
Yep.
I love, and I've been there in Israel, and then the Mediterranean and Italy. It's the same body of water, but they're different. I love that, but I love the mountains too.
Yep.
Like both of those. And then I discovered when I was out on the road years ago, we used to play like Daytona Beach a lot and that kind of thing. And I didn't really care for that as much. And then I was introduced to the Gulf, which I had never been to, and I completely changed my perspective.
Oh,
on
yeah.
that.
St.
very nice.
Petersburg and all that up through there.
Just
yeah, just inside there on the Gulf. Yep.
that's nice. But mountains, if I had to pick one, it would be mountains. I love the Blue Ridge. There's a very, you've probably noticed, maybe you haven't noticed before, when you're going like from North Carolina coming across and you're going on the Blue Ridge and it switches to Tennessee, there's a discernible difference in how well they maintain from one state to the
roads,
other. Yes. And the places where you can pull over and park and stuff.
Question. Blue Ridge. Janet grew up in the Blue Ridge.
Really?
But why is it called Blue Ridge? Everything's green.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
Well, now that gives you something to think about. I think it's because the mountains look blue.
But they're green.
They are green, but when you're back away from them, if you're painting them, you use a lot of blue.
They have blue cast to them.
See,
then there's
see what you
that's why I
learned
don't
here?
like painting, obviously. Never got it
and
right.
there's also all the rhododendron tend to be more on the North Carolina side of things. I didn't realize that somebody didn't just go out there and plant all those. I didn't know that was
Kind of natural.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Every time I go to the Smokies, I want to steal a bunch of mountain laurels and bring them back here. But then there's signs that say don't steal the mountain laurels. So I'm always torn, I might have brought a twig or two back in the past, but forgot they were there. And then when I remembered they were dead, but I may have done that. So actually, I didn't really break any rules, I think, right? Because I never planted them.
You just condemned yourself, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I like the Alps a lot.
yep, that's not over
That's
here.
an
somewhere.
amazing. No, that's not over here.
That's
No.
not in Kentucky, is it?
No, and it's weird because you've usually got foothills in the United States. It seems like almost everywhere that I've been, and the Alps, it's just like everything's flat, and then whoop,
And it goes way up
it just
there.
goes straight up.
I guess it's because Americans don't have as much energy, maybe, as the Alpinese. What is it over there? What would they be? Swiss?
Swiss,
Swiss people.
yeah, Alpinese.
Well,
Sounds like a
something.
dog.
Japanese?
Swiss nurse.
So this is odd because I just had this conversation with a friend of mine about, do you like mountains better or the ocean better?
Did you?
I did.
Are you changing your?
Pardon?
Are you changing your answer now?
I might tweak it just a little in case they listen to this because I
Don't want to be a full out liar.
No, I think what was determined there is they're both really nice in their own way. You know, you got things you do at one place that you really like to do, but you have things you do in the other place you really like to do. So I'm hearing the same thing around the table.
You can't fly a kite in the mountains.
No, but you can on the
It gets
beach.
stuck in the trees.
You can on the beach.
And you can't water ski in the mountains.
Yeah.
No. So
I can't water
I
ski
was
on the water.
going to address something real quickly too.
Yes.
If it's about the sound of the ocean,
right.
and that's why you spend however much money going on a cruise to enjoy that.
Right.
There's an app you can get on your phone
Yeah, I have
that
some of
does
those.
that sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have some of
Just
those.
want to make sure you.
Oh yeah.
So when I go to the ocean, what I like to do at the ocean is sit out there and listen to that. I like to go down there at night when there's nobody around and kind of mill around with my little cheap Walmart $10 flashlights. And just
I
kind
was
of
really
mill around.
hoping you were going to say metal detector.
I don't have a metal detector.
Because I could just picture you out there
No,
trying to find
I did have a metal detector, but a neighbor borrowed it. And when he brought it back, he kept the batteries. And then I just never put batteries in it. And it was a cheap one. I gave $2 for it at a yard sale. And
Okay.
I need another metal detector because then you would see me at night
With those big
my
headphones
cheap
on
Walmart
going around.
flashlights. With those
That would be
headphones, I'd be
awesome.
walking up and down there looking for stuff. But anyway, yeah, the ocean's
Probably
nice.
find a bunch of Bud Light cans, right?
Pardon?
Said you'd probably find a bunch of Bud Light cans, right?
No, you really find some interesting stuff. At night, you can see the shrimp. You see their
Well, I
eyes.
see people out with the nets.
You can
on the
net.
beach.
You can net shrimp, but you're not going to get any of the big ones unless you get in the right spots. But you can take a chicken leg and tie it to a string,
Get crabs.
and you can drag crabs out of the.
Yep.
You also get alligators that way.
I never got an alligator, but okay. So
Really?
in the mountains, I like the mountains too, though, because I'm from the hills of Arkansas. I grew up, I guess, like you did in the hills, so I'm drawn to those mountains. Either place I go, I want to paint it. I get really inspired either place, and I want to paint it.
And I want to take photos.
Yeah, so they're both great. That's what we determined in our conversation, that they're both great. That's what I hear from all of you all. They're both great. And the big thing I'm hearing from today is that Neil is leaning toward the ocean at this point in his life.
He's going to sleep with the ocean sounds tonight.
No, I said Neil. I mean Koontz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
to mix
sleep
us
with
up.
ocean sound every
Neil's leaning toward the Alps. And, and talking to the Alpinese. And,
I'll go back to Israel in a minute.
Wait
Wait a
are we
minute.
talking about the Alps or Israel? What's going on?
yeah, Israel's a new concept. Anyway, so interesting front porch visit they all are, and this was one of them. So, hey, listen, thanks for talking about it, fellas. Thanks for listening and watching. If you did, if you didn't, doesn't matter. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about a really fascinating thing. That's all. That's it. We'll be back.
Do you listen to or watch Mike the Baptist? Do you wear clothes? If so, we've got some great news. T-shirts and hoodies are now available at MikeTheBaptist.com. Just visit MikeTheBaptist.com, click on the merchandise link, and you'll find high-quality tees, hoodies, and even onesies for the babies in a variety of colors, all with the Mike the Baptist logo and familiar sayings from the program. Mike the Baptist is a true labor of love. No one has to pay to listen or watch the program, but Mike and the crew have to eat. So a portion of each sale of a t-shirt or hoodie goes to Mike's local Kroger, Walmart, or electric utility. It's kind of simple like that. In order to keep the program free, we have to generate a bit of income to pay the bills. When you make a purchase, you're not only doing the world a favor by wearing clothes, you're helping keep the messages of Mike the Baptist on the air. Thanks for helping out, and thanks so much for being involved in spreading the good news. What a great planet.
Let me just say, first of all, I always forget we have a buzzer.
Have you buzzed us for even got
Well,
started?
I just feel like I should use it because it's an appropriate good tool to bring it all back down to earth. In case everybody gets too far, what's the word for real high thinking church stuff? What's that?
High church.
Yeah, if you get too high church, you're going to buzz in. I'm going to try to be aware of that. Hey, look, there's this thing in this whole world of faith called getting saved. And I just want to address that right here off the get-go. If you show up to Mike the Baptist, accidentally or on purpose, and you don't think you've ever been saved, it's pretty easy to do, and you'll know when it's time to do it. And if it's now, you should do it. And then you'll listen to all this stuff like we're talking about in a whole different light. Plus, you'll feel better about yourself. And in time, you'll feel better about the world around you because you realize that you're going to have something different coming that's better than anything here. Did I say that right? Y'all are the preachers.
I think that's right on. I call it the great exchange.
Okay.
Bring God all the bad stuff in your life. I mean, all the mistakes, everything. You bring it and give it to Him, and then He gives you all this good stuff. So it's like you bring Him all the bad stuff, and He gives you all His good stuff. And I love that.
What does this mean to give Him that? Because I think that's confusing to somebody that hasn't bought into this yet.
I mean, it's a mental exercise. I mean, obviously we want to be forgiven of those things. We want to feel better about our mistakes, and so we just, hey, they're yours now. Doesn't mean we won't still make mistakes. Doesn't mean we won't still think about our old mistakes. But let Him be in charge of them.
It's pretty easy, isn't it?
Seems pretty easy.
Okay. Did the plane land there? I'm just encouraging, if you hadn't done that and you're listening or watching, just do that.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be perfect.
Nope.
I mean, look around this table. I'll show you a picture of us.
This is not perfection.
Look around this table right here.
Yeah, this is not perfection.
There is no perfection here.
Matter of fact, I just talked to a guy today, and I told him that. I said, nobody that goes to church with us are perfect. We're all still broken. We're still sinners. But what we have in common is that we've asked God to help us with this. We've trusted in Christ and Christ alone to fix us. And that's, this thing of salvation is really just, responding to His love, that He loves us and wants us to be better than we are. But I still think that it's the great exchange. Bring all your rags and filth, and God says, let me give you a robe and give you all my good stuff.
That may be the hardest obstacle for somebody to get past if they're just coming into this new, is understanding that there's this God out there that's thinking about one person.
Right.
Which He is.
And isn't that an amazing thought? He's thinking of one person, but everybody.
Yep.
At the same time.
Yeah.
It's a great story. I like stories.
And we can't get
and this
past
is a
our
great
past
story.
Sometimes. We struggle with our past. But here's a wonderful thought. I don't know what I'm going to do wrong tomorrow, but God already knows that. So He knows about my past. He knows about my today. He knows about my tomorrow, and He says, yeah, I love you anyway.
Okay, hang on.
Love?
You're getting into predestination. You've kind of left the...
No, I did not get into that. Is not predestination.
You need to buzz yourself off.
I'm sorry.
That is God's...
That's for me.
That is God's omnipotence, if you want to buzz me on something.
Well, the fact of it, for the purpose of this little brief conversation before we get into stuff, is just it's very simple. He created you, but He's aware of you. Yeah. So at the moment you become aware of Him, then you can start this whole new thing inside of you and turn into what He intended you to be, and what you've always thought you could be yourself. This will turn you into what you were intended to be, and then that's where peace comes from.
Yep.
All right, hang it up. Pass the plate. We're going to turn this over to the preachers. What?
So that's a great segue.
Oh, okay.
Because we've been reading in the book of Daniel, and Daniel has all these characters in there, and there's all these great, what we call felt storyboard things that about Daniel and the lion's den, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the burning furnace, and all that stuff. But there's this other character. Nebuchadnezzar is a big time character in the book of Daniel, and he's the evil king that has brought these young men into his kingdom, trying to change them and all this stuff. And you see that Nebuchadnezzar is watching these young men and knows there's something different about them. And there's even times when he praises their God, like, man, your God is the right God. He's the God of gods. But then we still see Nebuchadnezzar still thinking of himself too highly. that God can't tell him what to do, and he's the king, and he's going to live his own life the way he wants to, which is really comes back to this issue of pride. And, I think in all of our lives, we struggle on a daily basis to just submit ourselves to God's will and not try to do things our way. So what do you guys see in that? Like, how do we deal with pride? How do we deal with not putting ourselves above God?
So you're talking about how do you let God be in charge, basically?
Right. Yeah.
Because I think our natural tendency, our inclination is that we need to control things. And letting go, I mean, people say let go and let God. That's a true thing, is do that. But it's harder to do that than it is to say it, just to actually let that happen. I was going to say, you were saying omnipresence. No, you were saying omnipotence,
Yep.
not omnipresence. But that is a fascinating thing to me, too, that God, here we go, God created time for us. He doesn't live in time. We're going outside, sorry. He doesn't exist in time. He exists outside of it, and that's why he sees all things at the same time. And that concept, sorry, hit the mic. That concept is difficult for people to grasp, I think. I mean, it is for me, but he encompasses everything at the same time, and to try for us to understand, I just struggle with it. The whole idea that he knows ahead. He sees all these things. He's seeing you being born right now, and he also sees you now, and he sees you, whatever. It's all at the same, and it's not time. It's all at the same point, whatever that would be.
He's not caught off guard.
He is never caught off guard.
Right.
Yeah.
This helps me understand it better, Neil, because I read C.S. Lewis at one point who talked about your life being a line on paper, and that if you put a dot or something along that line, that's where you are in your life. You could see so far kind of in front of you and so a little bit past behind you, but God is looking at time from way outside and sees the entire line as though it's already happened.
Right.
That freed me up to understand a little bit more about why you can say God knows what I'm about to do, is because not necessarily that he is making me do it like a robot, but he's already seen it.
Right.
When I read that in C.S. Lewis, that freed me up from being confused about that anymore.
Yeah.
I still don't understand it, but I'm not confused anymore. I can buy into that and see how all of that would tie in together and make perfect sense.
And I feel like that place in Scripture where God says, my ways are not your ways, or whatever the wording is in that, I think that fits that.
It does,
too,
yeah.
Because that's not, and it's not a point that should hold us up from anything. It's kind of like, if you want to dig deeper, it's one of those concepts, but it shouldn't hang you up and make you worry. It's not going to affect your salvation, right?
Yeah.
I'm questioning. No, I'm not questioning,
But I mean, again, back to Nebuchadnezzar, and part of the problem that he had was he had these dreams.
Yep.
He didn't know what the interpretation of the dream was. Daniel was able to tell him not only the interpretation, but let me tell you what you dreamed before you tell me. Let me go ahead and tell you this. And the reason I know that is because God has shown that to me. And Nebuchadnezzar would find himself praising God in that moment, and then yet he would turn right back around and go, look at this Babylon that I built, and I did it in my time and my glory, and God had to humble him because, again, this issue of pride, I think we all struggle with it. Well, I know we struggle with it, and it's difficult to be a follower of Christ, to be crucified daily and go, okay, I don't need to be too proud. I need to listen to what God wants me to do as opposed to what I really want to do.
That pride is what kept Nebuchadnezzar in all kinds of trouble. And, as he gets going on through the passages that we're studying right now, and he gets to the point where 3 of his best servants in the land, disobey him. And that pride just was so swelled up within him, he could not handle the fact that the guys that he had entrusted so much authority with, all of a sudden they disobey him on this one thing, and he flips his lid, and he gets so angry over that. What for those three guys though, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? This is the story about the fiery furnace with them and getting thrown into there. But before they were even thrown into that furnace, they did not know what was going to happen next. They didn't know if they would live or if they would die. God is looking at it from outside of time, since he's the creator and the sustainer of time, and he's looking at all of that. He knows what's going to happen. But these three boys, they say, well, even if he does not save us from that, they're facing death right now because they took a stand to honor their God and not bow before a false image, a false God. And they're wise enough and they're brave enough to say to this most powerful man on the planet, even if our true God will not save us from your fiery furnace, we're not going to bow down before you. And when I think about them doing that in the Old Testament, I'm thinking about also the apostles of the New Testament. Because the apostles, as they're going through the New Testament, and they're being obedient to the commands that Jesus gave them, go out, share the gospel, start the church, let it grow. And then they start encountering the opposition, and they start getting killed off. And, stories spread. The word has to get around. Hey, so-and-so's been killed. Hey, so-and-so's been killed. Another one's been killed. But yet, those apostles, they were faithful. And I can only imagine them saying, well, even if God does not allow me to survive this persecution that's coming upon me, I'm still going to do what Jesus has told me to do. I'm going to take the message. I'm going to help the church grow. I'm going to present salvation to people. That is such an amazing faith. We say we have faith for our salvation. And we do have, around this table, I believe that every one of us has that faith for our salvation. But we've not faced the persecution.
Right.
Like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, like all the apostles, with imminent death. What kind of guts does it take to do that? I mean, that's incredible. We know there are other parts of the world today that they have secret church, because they would face the fiery furnace today. But man, would I really have the guts to do that? I really don't know.
Koontz, this is part of what fascinates me about believing the Bible, and how we can read these stories and then make sense of that compared to the way we actually live today. Because I'm never going to, pretty sure I'm never going to face being thrown in a furnace and into a whale. So the thing to me is how you translate these stories into what you face today. Because you said it, we haven't really been persecuted. We're not. Starbucks being closed is not persecution,
right?
I don't know that we really know true persecution. So how do you relate these stories like we're talking about right here to that?
Yeah.
If to the guy driving to work at Nashville tomorrow morning.
Right.
How does this make sense to him, what we're even talking about here?
I think for us, it's the building of faith for us. We're learning, we're studying, God's truth that he has recorded for us so that our faith continues to grow. Because who knows, we could be faced with it in our lifetime. I mean, things can change on a dime. We look at Ireland and where y'all are going to in just a couple of months, and know how quickly Ireland has gone downhill and fallen away from the faith. But we just don't know what could happen to us in the next 5-10 years.
I think our immediate persecution may be here in this country is the philosophies that are coming up that are attacking what we believe, and it's a direct attack.
Well, it is, and that philosophy eventually turns into violence.
Well, it is now. It's starting to do that pretty regularly now.
We do see that, and, things can just escalate from there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting to think about, we can't look at our faith and say, we're the only people that would ever be willing to die for what we believe. Right. What was 9/11?
Right.
There were some guys willing to die for what they believed to be truth. Mm-hmm. There's people all over the world. Look what happened in Jonesboro, when they were willing to drink the Kool-Aid, they were willing to die for what they believed. So having faith in something that you're willing to die for is not unusual to the Bible. It comes down to the reality is, what do you have faith in, and who's behind that faith, and does that thing with which you're willing to bet your life, do they have the ability to change your life? And I think that's where we have to get to with who God is. Who does God promise that He is? Some of the claims that are in the Bible, other faiths have that. Nirvana is peace. If you do this and do this, you'll have peace that what we would say passes all understanding. And so it really kind of is that, I hate to say gamble, but it's that gamble of when it comes down to, what are you really putting your faith in? What are you bowing down to? Are you trusting in yourself? Are you trusting in another human being? Are you trusting in a God? And if so, what does this God promise you? And I think one of the things that should capture our attention is that the God of the Bible is the only God that says, I loved you so much that I was willing to die for you. And by the way, I'm the only real God out there. And He says that over and over. He proves that in who He is. And that the only proof, honestly, is at the end of the day. At the end of the day, we're all going to know who really is God and who really is not God. But I think I'll take my chances with this one.
Talking about how many images we have of God and who He is, and everything that He portrays, and that we can't conceptually wrap our minds around that. And we were talking about the in Revelation, where it talks about the angels and how they bow down at the throne, and then they lift their heads back up and they say, holy, holy, holy. And it's because every time they lift their heads up, they get a different revelation of who God is. There's a new revelation. And the comparison was to God being like, almost like the facets of a diamond. And that depending on which way you turn it, you get a completely different picture of what it is. It's not the same. You can turn it again and you get another one. And God is all of that, and trying to wrap your head around that. So I'm thinking about Nebuchadnezzar seeing Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and being astonished that they don't perish in the fire. And his reaction to that, you have to let go and say, I'm not in control of this anymore. God, there's got to be a God. God's got to be in control, because I can't do anything about this. And that was what happened with him, and seeing them. And that's the point that he started praising God. Right?
Yep.
Isn't that right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
but he finally had that big revelation, that view that he just couldn't get over finally.
And I think even, earlier somebody had said, how does he praise God, but he doesn't acknowledge Him? Or I can't remember how it was worded, but it's that pursuit of, we're trying to be what we see in Jesus. We're trying to be who Jesus is. But I don't think we always get the whole picture at the same time. I think we see a piece of that and go, oh, look how benevolent He was. And look at how much He encompassed social justice, and you do a piece of that, and it's like, see, I'm being like Jesus. But no, not really, because there's all this over here that you're not taking into consideration. So
I don't think we have any way of. Most nights I stroll out into my yard, sometimes before I go to bed, and just look at planets and stars. I'm amazed at that, and they're different every night. They're a little different every night, and I think sometimes when I'm standing out there that there's no way this is an accident. It's just, there's no way it's an accident. That can't be an accident. So in the same way that I can't figure that out, standing out there looking long enough where I'm wondering if my neighbors are looking out their window saying, what is he doing out there? But if I can't figure that out, then I'm pretty sure there's something bigger out there designing things than I could imagine.
So when you think about color or sound, either one of those things, light or sound, there are frequencies, and they're similar because they're just waveforms moving at different rates of speed. So with sound, you can hear from here to here. And that doesn't mean that there's not something that exists above that and below that. And it's the same thing with light, and the waveforms of light vibrate at a certain rate of speed. And you can see down here and you can see up to there, but you can't see above and below it. And yet there are frequencies that exist, and it's the same. That's what God has created, things that we can't even encompass in our minds yet. We can't see all of those
I didn't encompass
colors.
a lot of that.
I'm sorry.
It's kind of like
That's deep right there.
dogs can hear frequencies that
Yes,
we can't hear. They
that's
exist,
correct.
but I don't hear them.
I cooked my chicken sandwich a while ago in the microwave, and I couldn't see the energy, but it was there.
Now there's some,
There you go.
There's some
Right? Right?
There's the red.
Yes, there's the red
education.
You're
That's
welcome.
the feltboard version of.
You're welcome.
You know, I thought back when somebody mentioned feltboard, you should define that, or you should push the buzzer or something,
to
because
tell what a felt board really
Yes.
is. Yeah.
Old people will get
Oh,
it.
we need a felt board in here.
Yeah.
We
Oh, wait a
need
minute,
that
wait a
into the
minute.
table.
I'm just going to buzz the word redneck. We shouldn't use that word. I mean, that
I'm not
that
offended
wipes
by
across
it.
my whole family.
I'm not offended by it, and I can laugh at myself. Look at me.
True.
Some of you other people should take some notes.
I guess in the same vein you're talking about, Neil, I've had a fascination all of my life with radio waves, because these radio waves travel across the whole country and make it to a little transistor radio, and then it turns into sound. That's always fascinated me.
right.
But there's so much of that probably that we don't have any ideas out
Well,
there.
if you didn't have a little receiver,
oh, I see where this is
the
going.
radio wave's still there.
Wait a minute, I see a sermon coming.
Right? The radio wave's still there.
Go
And
ahead.
so what Paul
I see
talks
it.
about,
Yeah.
Paul says, look, what God has revealed to us through nature, you walking out and looking at the stars and the planets and stuff, God has revealed himself so that we are without an excuse. So anybody that wants
Yes.
to say, there's no God, I don't believe there is a God. No, you're without an excuse, because you can't figure these things out. They're greater. All of our scientists, our best scientists, still come back to a faith principle. Oh, well, matter's always existed. Really? It's always existed? Because God says he's always existed, and he created matter. So we can't figure it out. Nebuchadnezzar really couldn't figure it out, but when he looked in the fire, he saw 4.
That's right.
And he started
Yeah.
questioning, didn't we just throw 3 in there? Who's the 4th person? Well, it's God. He's there with them in the fire. So all that, again, just points back to, it comes down to faith. It really does. It comes down to faith. And where pride gets in the way is when we try to write God out of the story. That can't be God. That's just science. That can't be God. That just, maybe another soldier fell in there with him. Well, he didn't burn up, and when they came out, only 3 guys came out. So how does all that work? You can try to wrap your mind around this, or you can try to excuse it, but the reality is it's there. It's there in front of us. Mm-hmm. And
You can just accept it and
yeah,
see what it does to you.
yeah. And I don't think you have to have an ignorant faith. I don't like preachers that try to say, oh, just believe it because it's there. Well, no, you don't have to have an ignorant faith. But at the end of your search, it does come down to faith.
Starts with believing.
You got to.
You have to believe it somewhat.
You're believing in something.
Yeah.
You're believing in something, and so again, the safe gamble, is to believe there really is a God. I forget who came up with that law, but it was kind of like, if I choose to believe there is a God, and I live a holy life, and I kind of try to do good things, and I die and there is no God, nothing ventured, nothing gained, nothing lost, But if I say there is no God and I live my life the way I want to do it, like Nebuchadnezzar, I have this pride that I'm in charge, and I die and there really is a God, then I've lost everything. Mm-hmm. I've lost everything. So, again, back to where you kind of started us off, what do we need to do? We need to surrender ourselves to God.
I think it's a good plan. I think all of us at this table have done it, and I don't hear anybody regretting it.
Nope.
And to sum it up, you ain't perfect right now, and you're never going to be perfect.
I thought
So
you
if
was going to
that's
say
what-
we ain't either.
Well, yeah, I hate to be just shameless with my, we ain't fancy, but you ain't either.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
That's it. But,
That was in my head.
Right.
Yes.
so if you're waiting to be perfect, you're wasting your time because you're not going to be perfect. We're not perfect, and I never will be. I already know that. Anyway, land the plane here somewhere. Or is it time to land a plane?
That sounds good.
It feels like it's time to
I
land
think
a
you
plane.
landed the plane.
I think I did land
Yeah,
the
he
plane.
landed it.
Good
for us.
landing. It was smooth.
You didn't even know it. It was so smooth.
I didn't even know it was landed. It's like I was snoozing and had peanuts on my chest and woke up and he had landed the plane. Yeah, I don't know, there's things happening in my head that.
Okay, back to our front porch visit.
Yes.
So,
What? Wait.
why do we enjoy the mountains and the ocean?
Okay.
Because I think they reconnect us to who God is.
That's a good point.
Because it's so big, it's so massive, it's so powerful,
Incomprehensible.
to think that here I stand and look at this massive ocean and some small little fish and some bigger little fish, and yet I fit in the scheme of that somewhere, and yet I can feel so small, but yet realize that God says I'm so important that He cared enough to create me. I think I'll be honest with you, that's one of the things that I like going back to nature, is it reconnects you with God. You know, you walk out and you think, okay, and this is, again, the gamble. If there is a God, wow.
Yeah.
What a creative dude
Yep.
He is. And why would He create all this for me? And why would He think of me? Which goes back to this idea that He loves us, that we're here for a purpose, on a purpose. That's a whole lot better way of living life than to think I'm just a bunch of atoms that ran into each other. And
Yeah, that's
I mean,
that's
that's
kind of
terrible.
boring way to
That's a
think.
terrible,
I think.
That's a terrible way to live life.
To think that you're a part of the big plan is really interesting.
Yeah.
That you're a part, and you are.
Yeah. It will help you with depression. It will help you with purpose. It will help you with, why am I here? You know, I'm here because God wants me here in this time, in this place, doing these things. Now, when I mess up, He doesn't want me to sin, but He can even use those things for my good and His glory. Again, we'll just give them to Him.
Since we have a big stage at our new facility where we all go to church, if I actually build my thing, I'd like to call it Mike's Fantastic Predestination Machine. If I actually build that, can I get permission to put that together on the stage and show everybody how it works?
We'll need to check the policy.
We'll need
on
to have that to come before a few committees.
Why don't y'all start with that? Because it involves thousands of ping pong balls, ceiling fans, and helmets. But I would like to put it together because I think it would be a great illustration of predestination and how you fit into the plan. So y'all bring it up at some meetings.
All I can think of is like kids in the ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese.
No, it's more advanced than that. Let's take a break and come back and play In Your Outty. We're getting too deep. We'll be back.
Hey everybody, it's time to play America's almost favoriteest new game show, Inny or Outty, where we challenge our guests to figure out if a phrase we give them is actually in the Bible or out of the Bible. Sharpen your wits, guest. You're about to be in the hot seat of Bible stuff, because you're the next contestant on Inny or Outty. Here's Mike.
One of the great new pleasures on the planet started right here in this room and has flowered into an amazing thing, which I think is helpful. Inny or Outty, I think is helpful. This has helped me in a really odd way. Not in an odd way. It's helped me. It's helped me think about things, phrases I throw around. I don't know what that first sound was right there, but something else tried to get out of there. But
At least you caught it.
I caught it.
Did you go to the dentist
It sounded a little Hebrew for a second.
Okay.
But anyway, so the purpose of Inny Outty is, number one, to have some fun and try to bust preachers and other people like that on their knowledge of the Bible. But the other thing is to bring up these phrases that you think might be in the Bible that you use all the time, and they're not really. It helps educate you. And, you know, we have several reasons for doing Inny or Outty. That's just some of them. Today, in the power seat, Michael Koontz is in the power seat at one point. HD Jones in the power seat at the other point. And we've ditched the individual competition because that was confusing. We've gone back to the
Group consensus.
Yes. And that's confusing too at times, but what the heck?
Yeah.
It's all in good
all
fun.
for one and one for all.
Michael Koontz, start us off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that.
All righty. So for today's Inny or Outty, I am only a foreigner in the land.
I am only a foreigner in the land.
That was a group, wasn't it? Foreigner?
It was a...
Okay.
But
Isn't that Lord of the
if
Rings?
that's what it was, it would have said, I am only foreigner in the land.
Not a
if it was the group.
Okay.
So we can eliminate that.
It depends on if it was an individual from the band or not, though,
Welcome
right?
to the 80s, right?
Well, that's true too.
The 80s rocked.
That's what I've heard. Gut reaction is that's in there. It almost sounds like something
Frodo said.
Ruth would say, or
So Frodo's in the Bible.
Frodo's in the Bible?
I didn't say that.
Gomer's in there.
Did Frodo quote the Bible?
Yeah, but Gomer's, not Pyle.
No, it's a different Gomer.
It's also
But
Shazam.
the name is still funny. But
Yeah,
doesn't matter if it's Pyle or the Bible. Gomer just sounds funny. I am only a foreigner in the land.
that sounds. Reasonable that it would be in there because there were a lot of foreigners in the land.
Who would have said that, though? What type of biblical character would have said, I am only a foreigner in the land?
Well, like Abraham when they were trying to take his wife away, and he just said, "I'm only a foreigner in the land. Here, you can have her."
I'm sure that's exactly
He sang it
how he said that,
only
too.
a foreigner in the land.
It's so difficult to get through serious thoughts.
I know,
here.
right?
So like you're saying, like Abraham was just mentioning that he was in
I think if he busts us on this, I can find that somewhere.
Unlike the color brown.
Right? Shh, stop it.
Well, there's 800 translations of the Bible,
Right.
so you can dig something up. Neil? What do you
It sounds Old Testament-y to me, but I can't point to a specific
only
place.
A foreigner.
That means you think it could be in there.
I think it's in there.
I'm
It'll be
only-
from Daniel that we've been reading through.
Yeah, right.
Smarty pants.
Yes. Well, we've been studying
It's in
out here
Daniel,
for
we just read
a
it.
solid month. I am only a foreigner in the land. I'm going to probably vote with both of you all.
But you're going to disagree.
Well, my gut is rolling just a little.
What'd you eat for lunch?
Was it beef
But
roast?
I ate a really fast sandwich because
What?
I realized y'all were about to show up.
Sandwich.
Oh, cheetah?
I am only a foreigner in the land.
Impala.
I don't really think it's in there, fellas, but I'm going to go with you at the risk of being a stick in the mud. And and to get to an answer.
Or you feel confident with it? Okay, we're going. So I think we're going yes.
Yes.
It's in there.
The answer is yes.
All right. So it's not from the band Foreigner. It is from Psalm 119, verse 19. I am only a foreigner in the land. Do not hide your commands from me.
All right. So
There you go.
so I technically won.
Yes, that's easy to do when you stand in the center.
Well, look, here's what happened. Last episode, I went against the grain a couple of times, and I was right both times, so I got a little extra pride.
Yeah.
That has officially been busted right there.
Yeah.
So you
Does
goeth
pride-
before.
That's wonderful.
Yes. It wenteth before the fall.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that was a good one.
All right, cool. Thanks.
I mean, that was a good one. HD, what do you have for us?
So, growing up in a little Southern Baptist church, it's weird how all these hymns start coming back to you, and you start going, is that actually in the Bible? So we used to sing showers of blessing. Oh, that the day they might fall. There'd be showers of blessing. Da, da, da. So I was wondering, guys, is that phrase showers of blessing in the Bible or not?
No.
Wow. The way to jump in there. Was this your gut
Mike,
speaking?
We need to kind of expound upon that. We need to stretch out
true.
this.
That's what I say.
This makes for a real,
Give
makes for a real short
You're like getting that
segment.
Koontz confidence going over
Well,
there.
listen,
Control
my
it.
prideful gut just said that before I had a chance to stop it. It just jumped in there and said, "I'm good at this."
That's what was going to come out a while ago that you sucked back in.
That's what it was.
Right. I'm going to agree with you. I don't think that Showers of Blessings. I don't think it's in there. I think it's a good song, though.
Hill, you look suspicious both
I
ways.
don't think
kinda.
I've ever. No, I probably haven't read it. I don't think it's in there.
And he's the music guy, so I would think he'd know better than we would.
It's not in the Mike the Baptist hymnals.
Well,
No, we
neither.
only put authentic stuff in the Mike the Baptist.
Correct.
Neither is I Come to the Garden Alone.
Right.
That's not in there.
Right?
Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Showers of blessing.
of blessing.
Is that all you said? Just that phrase?
Yeah.
Showers of
Because
blessing.
that's the name of the hymn, isn't it?
Oh, well,
music guy.
let's see.
I can hear Garnet singing it right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say not in there.
I don't think it is either. I'm going to go back to my original thought. No.
Well, I'm glad y'all came to that conclusion because in Ezekiel
Oh, no.
34,
Oh, no.
26, and I will make them and the places all around my hill a blessing, and I will send down the showers in their season, and they shall be showers of blessing.
Where is that? Ezekiel what?
24, 36.
Okay.
He's going to go
need
check
double
on
check
you.
him because he will make things up from time to time.
I do that.
Does that chapter even
That's
exist?
good. See, there's a prime example of things that just sound like they either are or
34,
aren't.
26.
Prime
34,
example.
26.
Showers of
Something that
blessing.
sounds like it's not in the Bible, but it is.
You know, it speaks highly of hymns like that, though, because, you know, on the surface, we all thought, well, that just sounds like a song somebody wrote.
Yep.
But it's actually in there.
It's
So,
actually in there.
So whoever wrote that hymn knew that ahead of us.
that
That
phrase
should have been on in your
That
Outty.
phrase spoke to them.
That's awesome.
That was good. Both those were good, and you know why both of those were good? Because week after week, we try to come up with these real clever things, and both of those were just very short, succinct. Is succinct a word? Mm-hmm. Short, succinct phrases.
Shrinkle it.
We did
Shrinkle. You know, we dropped shrinkle some time ago, and I had forgot we were trying to
do
get
not
that
want
in
to
the
drop
dictionary.
Shrinkle.
No.
You need to bring Shrinkle back.
Remember that, folks. We need to get back on that and use that. What needs to happen is people that we know need to start using that word in conversation because it will eventually make it into a dictionary.
At least the Urban Dictionary.
No. I'm going full Webster's. You bet.
Merriam-Webster.
Straight up Webster's. If
I was looking online before, and your Wi-Fi's not working right.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi's not working either, we'll check on that during the break.
Okay.
Speaking of break, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and sing you a hymn from the Mike the Baptist hymnal.
Don't we have something we're doing today?
You know what we do? Before we sing that hymn, as I was going to say, we have a pecan or pecan pie, depending on where you're from, that we are going to taste test on the air and give you our opinion and make as much fun of the person that made it as we possibly can because it's so much fun to do that. We'll be back.
That's why we don't get food.
Oh, wow. What a great contestant and a fine sport today on Inny or Outty, America's almost favorite new game show. Study up, future guest people. You're next in the hot seat for Inny or Outty.
You know what one of the benefits of being leadership at a church is? You can get free food from people. They'll just bring it to you. And so these guys showed up at the studio today sporting a pecan pie. And it was a deep dish, with full pecans. Whoever made this pie did not buy the halves and pieces. They bought, this big old chunks
It's
of pecans.
like hand done crust, too.
Yes. It's a serious pie. And I don't know who did it, but, actually, they did not guilt the people into providing it. It was bought at a fundraising auction or something, and they brought it to the studio today. And we are going to taste it and test it. This is part of our unsuccessful food review portion of the program that we never got off the ground. In fact, this may be the second or third time we just kind of stole some food from somebody and brought it over here and did it.
Dine and dash.
Yes, because we couldn't get somebody to actually do it. So somebody have a piece that they can hold up to a camera here somewhere
Michael does.
and show this.
Oh, there we go, right?
Oh,
In
yes.
front of
See,
Mr. HD.
look, this is the pecan pie. We are going to taste it. Now, we'll taste it, and we'll give you our review, and then I don't really know what happens after that. You've just got it, I guess, and we've had a piece of pie. But anyway, wait, don't taste it yet because we need to throw somebody under the bus first. I think we know who made it.
Yeah,
a local person at our church here, and you may not know her at all. You probably don't if you're outside of this area, listening or watching. But we mean this in good fun when we poke at you. That's the old saying, if we don't like you, we don't poke at you.
When you say those kind of things, does it make you feel like my hair's on fire?
My hair's on fire? It does kind of make me feel that way. I mean, that was good. A good cayenne pepper will make you feel like my hair's on fire.
Right.
Anyway, I think the lady's name is Margie. Is it Margie or Marjorie? Yes. It's Margie.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just made this pie, and she has no idea we're about to review her pie, but we are. Let's take a bite.
All right.
Right now, and let me just say, the proper way to eat a piece of pecan pie is to get a bite in your mouth and then suck all that sugary goo off the pecan and then chew the pecan up. Isn't that right?
Mm-mm.
Is that not how y'all do that?
Mine's like a ninja mouth. It just goes at it.
And then you get a little crust at the end mixed with the pecan.
That's good.
Let me be the first to say this is a really good pecan pie. It's not too sweet. You can make a pecan pie that's so sweet, it just makes you cry because it's so sweet, and then you can't enjoy it. This is just about right.
I mean, we could get this portion of our show off the ground. I'd be willing to sacrifice Inny or Outty.
Just full-on food review for the last 20 minutes. I don't mean to eat with my mouth full, but it's full, and I have to speak. So that's good. I'm going to eat the rest of that after the program.
Very good stuff.
Okay, so maybe we should develop a quick scale. Let's do a 1 to 10 scale. And I have a theory about these scales. There are no 10s. Because if you give somebody a 10, they get the big head.
Okay.
And I don't think we should give 10s. So just understand, if you don't get a 10 from our food review, it's not because it's not necessarily a 10. It's because we're trying to keep you humble. So it's for your own good. Wait a minute. Let's not give it a rate from 1 to 10, because then we may see these people later. And if it's an 8 and they thought it was a 9.5, we're not going to be able to explain our way out of that.
We won't get much food after that.
Here's my review. That's a really good pecan pie.
Fantastic. Little nutty.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Now, excuse me. Of course, this is the best pecan pie that we've ever reviewed on Mike the Baptist.
Absolutely is. Yes, sir.
Now, if somebody else makes a pecan pie and they want to let us compare the two, then you have to give us a pecan pie. That's how this works. And we'll gladly review it. Right now, that's the best pecan pie I've ever had on Mike the Baptist.
Preach.
I'm not going to say I've ever had, because my wife makes a really good pecan pie, and I'm not going there.
Does your wife listen to this show?
I don't think she's ever heard it. Well, I think she got her fill of nonsense many moons ago. And I don't think any of this impresses her so much anymore.
She makes a mean pot roast, though.
She does.
That's what I've heard.
That's another story.
Fragrant pot roast.
It's fragrant. And, y'all are purposefully trying to throw me off now. So today's hymn on Mike the Baptist, we want to invite you to join us, because you're going to know it. Some hymns, you know. As soon as you hear the first of it, you know them. Traditional, time-honored hymns. This is one of them. It's page 8 in the Mike the Baptist hymn.
Ooh, it's up front.
It's way up front. Because it's sung so much. You don't want one that you're singing a lot. You don't want to flip through all those pages.
All right.
You just want to lick your finger once, and you're there. And here we are. Thanks for joining us today. We'll say all that again in a minute, but first we're going to sing you a hymn with all reverence. You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love. You never take advice, But someday you'll pay the price, I know. I've seen it before, it happens all the time. You're closing the door, you leave the world behind. You're digging for gold, you're throwing away a fortune in feelings, but someday you'll pay. You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love. You want paradise, but someday you'll pay the price, I know. I've seen it before, happens all the time. You're digging for gold, you leave the world behind.
Amen.
Amen. Absolutely.
That just kind of caught us off guard.
Yeah, it all has today, but that's okay. Hey, thanks for joining us and sticking with us and having a little fun with us, and I hope you got a little bit of something out of the middle part of this that you can use. That's our hope. So, Neil,
Yo.
Koontz,
Jackson.
Brother Hodo,
Brother Mike.
thanks for another good day. See everybody the next time. And remember, folks, we're all just Christians.
Yep.
Try not to cuss.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike the Baptist.